All right. So what were the topics that we spoke about last time?
Ribbit, ribbit, drawing a blank.
I've just been thinking about the whole underground thing. You know what I'm talking about? Like being underground.
Just
Like
not being mainstream.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Like being a person. Like it's funny. Like the first thought that comes to my mind is like I was always a person who was not into mainstream because, especially like with music, for example, where it was always better. Like the dance music before it became a mainstream thing was very, very good. And it was really the only thing I could listen to. And it was one of those things where like the only things that were quality were the things that you got that no one else had, or the things you got underground, or the things that were like, oh man, how'd you get that? Like
So
not
was it? Do you think that that whole thing about like, oh man, look how rare and cool it is,
yeah.
and like it's so cool that you were able to find that, and we can only like find it when we hang out with you type thing, or was it just cool on its own because it sounds awesome and the mainstream just is not able to appreciate it?
Um. Well, first of all, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the mainstream, meaning the 90% of people are not able to appreciate it. The 10% of people that do, they think it's great, and not only that, it never comes from like mainstream, quote unquote, reputable record labels or official sources. You know what I mean? It's never gonna come. It's never gonna be played. It's kind of like I have a friend whom I send sometimes these some of these tracks, right? And he goes to me, "Oh, it only has like 5,000 views on YouTube." I'm like, "What does the amount of views have anything to do with the quality of the sound that's coming out of your speakers?" You know what I mean? So there's like
Right,
this
right.
perception, and it carries over to other things in life, obviously, as we've seen. And but by me, it's always been a thing of like I never ever followed the herd in anything. Not because I'm like I just do it out of principle, but because I'm just not that like that's just me. I never follow herds ever. And
That's good.
I always seek out like other things that are like people don't see. Like again, I was just telling my father the other day, when I was a kid, this is even in Ukraine when there used to be like some sort of magic show. When all the kids are looking at whatever the magician wants them to be looking at, I'm always the kid that's either looking at somewhere, on the ceiling, on the other part of the stage, behind the guy, I don't know, behind me, or I'm looking at the crowd
Man,
for the
man,
reactions.
if I saw a guy like that, you know what I mean? I pow pow right away, man. Because like, why you gotta be the one, man? Everybody else
Yeah.
enjoying it.
Why you gotta ruin my shiznit?
No, I was trying to do a
Yeah.
horrible impression of Charlie Murphy,
Yeah.
uh, talking about how he would just beat the
Yes.
hell out of anybody that didn't seem to
If
be
I
enjoying
if I
themselves.
see that guy, I'm gonna punch him in the face.
Right? Right. You're that guy
Mister
who's
Mister,
like sitting there
you
with a
like
sourpuss,
you
like
like Mister
unhappy.
Johnson. If I see Mister Johnson, I'm gonna punch him in the face. I spend all this time refining my craft. You know what I'm saying? These people spend all this time in the lab making this stuff just for you. God sent these people here on Earth just to make you this stuff in the lab, and it's helping people, saving their lives and stuff. Well, before it kills them, but before that, it saves their life. And why you gotta be the one? Yeah, I'm gonna punch you in the face.
Nah, but he seems like he'd be an
Oh, of
anti-COVID
course.
schmacks.
He'd be anti-oxygen. He'd be like, yo, I don't want to, anything. he's like, I take drugs. What do you think of? He's like, I just kicked the needle. You want me to take another needle?
Yeah, man. So let me ask you a question, okay? This
Yeah.
is just it seems like the whole mainstream underground thing. So just to set the framework here, I probably the majority of the things that I listen to or that I like uh, could be considered underground or
Mm-hmm.
non-mainstream,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's not like that's to me. It seems to be that there are people who like something not because it actually sounds good to them,
Yeah.
but because it's part of a a subculture. They want to be part of a
Yeah.
subculture.
Or
So they take-
somebody reputable put it out and they want to be involved. Yeah.
No, but like for
Yeah.
instance, like I remember going through this as a kid,
Yeah.
where like you hang out with these cool people, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, look
Yeah.
at this cool chick and these cool guys, and
Yeah.
oh, they're listening to Elvis Costello,
Yeah.
and you seem to be having a good time, and then you try to listen to Elvis Costello
And it sounds like ass.
on your own. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? I don't want to listen to this.
Yeah, because no, it's an in crowd. It's the in crowd disease. So that's what this is. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's high
And, like,
school.
You don't want to admit. Nobody wants to admit. I imagine a situation where everybody is sitting there listening to Elvis Costello. I don't know why
Yeah.
I'm picking on Elvis,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So
I know.
everybody's like sitting there listening to like Elvis Costello or like I don't know, some whatever,
Yeah.
right? And then psychedelic furs or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And Sonic Youth.
yeah.
Yeah, this is so cool. This is so cool.
Yeah. Or
And then
I
nobody
remember it
likes
was like
it, right?
Incubus. Incubus was like a thing.
Whatever. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It's like everybody's sitting there.
Yeah.
Nobody likes it, but
Yeah.
everybody's too scared to say that they don't
Yeah,
like it.
it's
'cause no one
groupthink.
wants to be the first
Groupthink,
one
man.
to look uncool.
Yeah. It's groupthink, man. It's groupthink.
Dude. So that's unfortunately that seems to dominate
Dude.
the quote unquote underground.
Dude, I have a reverse opposite story. I was in 8th grade, and the music teacher, we were learning guitar. Like the class, the entire class at the same, like simultaneously was learning guitar, and we're sitting there. And so he starts playing. Okay, he's like, I want to play you an example of like, just guitar riffs. So he plays for us Beatles, right? And I'm sitting there, and I look, I was a kid, so my parents got me into the Beatles at that time, and I'm bopping my head. And everybody in the class, 25 kids or whatever it was, sitting there, stone-faced. They're like statues. And I'm just like, what is wrong with everybody?
Yeah, bro. Yo, listen. The Beatles, that's your Zephyr, bro.
No, but do you understand? No, not that they didn't like the Beatles, but I'm sure at least 5 people would be enjoying what's playing. Not one of them even bopped their heads.
No, because they're not familiar with it.
No,
because
they are.
Their Zephyr.
No, they were familiar. Everybody's familiar. No, you don't understand. Some of those kids.
What grade were you in?
This is 8th. You don't understand. No. You don't understand. They just didn't want to look uncool.
No, I would have to.
Dude, they didn't.
I would have to disagree with you. I would.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember being in 8th grade. I was in the 8th grade at the same time that you were in 8th grade.
Dude.
It would be very surprising if more than a quarter, or probably much less, of the kids that I knew in the 8th grade would be familiar with any real Beatles songs.
Dude, a lot of people were familiar with Beatles songs because I'll tell you why at that time. Because that Apple, the company that hello. Yeah. Sorry, just like my connection's on. No, there was they released the Beatles at that time.
People were listening to freaking the Method Man.
No,
they were listening to.
They released it. No, what I'm trying to tell you is it wouldn't matter what he played. It wouldn't matter what he played. He would have played Method Man. He would have played whatever. It wouldn't matter what he played. What mattered was these kids didn't want to show their cards that they are enjoying something in front of their friends. You understand?
It's weird, man.
Very
I can't
strange.
picture it.
And I'm sitting there looking around, and I'm like, is everybody dead? But they're not dead. They're just, like you said, it's just nobody wants to be the first one to say that this.
Dude,
is,
that's like I know that feeling. I feel like I understand what you perceived it as. Like, for instance, I tried to watch Young Frankenstein with a bunch of Russians. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't get it.
Yeah.
They're like, where is Jean-Claude Van Damme? Is he coming?
What?
Where is Dolph Lundgren? Is he going to shoot? Where is And then, where is Eddie Murphy? Mr. Fuck You Man, Papa, right? Remember?
You're the fucking man, right? Fuck you, you
motherfucker. You Mr. Fuck You Man.
Mr. F you man, huh?
Yeah, Mr.
I
F
see you on
Man.
television.
You motherfucker.
You MFer, you black MFer. That's what he
You
said.
blame.
You're the fucking F you man, right? Eddie Murphy, F you. Haha.
I want half Eddie.
I want half, Eddie. Half. How about half your shiznit? I'm American woman now, Eddie. I want what's coming to me. Did you know you could have his money? Did you know? He's like, you know, you could have foo. Oh, reconnecting there. Oops. Gosh. Hello? You still there?
Eddie, the connection broke again.
Yeah, no, somebody
But,
tried
like,
to call me. Sorry
Eddie,
about that.
yeah, Eddie Murphy was jamming it because about what I was about to say.
Yeah.
He's like, Eddie, you know, Eddie seemed to be really, really like racist against Africans back then.
I don't think he was
that
racist
was
against
crazy.
Africans. I think he saw just the distinction between Africans and black people in America. He was one of the first people to like start pointing that out.
I don't know. He seemed pretty. You know, he's like.
You know who
he's
was
like,
racist against Africans? Remember Friday, the second one, where he had the Michael Blackson.
Yeah.
I am a bit
Yeah,
more bit MFA. I am just a little bit. He's like, I can get jiggy with this. John Blaze, I can get jiggy with this.
Yeah, they were scared. They're like, I wanted out. You know, that African might be outside. I'm not going out.
He's like, get out of here, you pig! Oh, you pig MFA.
Dude, I went to a Nigerian bar that was not far from Brooklyn. From Brooklyn College.
Aren't they Muslim? Quick bar.
No.
Nigeria's a
No.
Muslim, bro. Or some of them are Christian, whatever.
No, they're not. I don't think it's a majority Muslim country.
It's at least half or something like that, or like.
No, I don't. I don't think so.
So they're making a ruckus then in Nigeria. If that's crazy. So what happened?
Yeah, no, but
So what happened?
no, it was nothing. We had a drink. It was nice.
I once went to like an Ethiopian restaurant. You know, they eat with their hands, and my hands smelled like onions for like 4 days straight, and I couldn't like. It doesn't matter if I took a shower, strong as soap. It smelled like onions and garlic.
Yeah, onions are gonna they're just gonna stay there.
Yeah, onions and garlic for like 4 days straight. My hands reeked. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this thing of like underground and mainstream, like what? I mean, it's just carrying over to like what we see before us, where it's like, I'm the guy that my friends are coming to me, oh dude, like, do you have any HC, you know what, and whatever, and it's like we have all this information that we're getting, and the mainstream is not getting it, even though the internet's available and you could like send it to your friends and your family, and people are just like not. They're not being macabre it. Like, you send it to them, they're just not able to be macabre. Like,
Yeah, because
like what's that all about?
Because it's basically like Pavlovian response. People have been programmed to respond to certain things in a certain way. The message itself was tailor made to kind of like hit every psychological like weak spot and that every person deals with, like for instance, like people, when I came back, everybody liked Britney Spears and the Spice Girls, when I came back from Israel, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck is this? I don't understand. And everybody's like, oh, Britney's so hot. I'm like, all right, she just looks like some kind of little, whatever, like little.
She's like,
she
in Russian we say простая никакая. She's like a.
She wasn't that hot.
She's plain Jane,
also,
man.
her voice wasn't anything special. That she was acting, or she was pantomiming.
Yeah.
Being a little slutty girl or something like that.
Yeah, with like a high pitched voice. Oh, baby, baby, baby,
yeah, so,
baby.
Right, and she was like the biggest thing. So it was like, what are they? What was it that was resonating about her? And it kind of like, I heard this description when it came to like Keanu Reeves on a certain level. Like they have a certain template for movies, formulation that they use, where you have the hero, right, the messiah figure, the hero, right, who's always kind of like, he has like a kind of like a blank canvas face, right, and that's why, and apparently whoever was describing this said that Keanu Reeves, he had one of the perfect blank canvas faces where you can just project this idea, and while everybody who has character in their face was a side person or had or was a villain, the most character, the person who had the most character was the villain. Okay, so they were able to project this idea. I think it was something about Britney that kind of she's like the average girl, yet she's being something's being projected upon her.
She's being sexualized.
She's being sexualized, which girls, probably on a certain level, they want that.
Yeah.
And then guys want that as well.
Yeah.
You understand? Like so when they averagified it.
Yeah.
They averagified
guys want the girls that they know to behave that way, and girls want to be perceived. Girls who are plain like her want to be perceived that way.
Right.
Whatever way
so
that
could be what it is.
Yeah.
And so they have this puerile type of, not puerile, but formulaic thing that they use over and over again, where they really studied human psychology very, very well.
Yeah.
And they understand what mass appeal really means.
Yeah.
And it's not just about sales.
Of course.
Even though that's always going to be the go-to argument. They're going to say, even with the schmack scene, it's about greed. It's about greed. No, it's not.
Yeah. I mean, they did make a lot of money, but it's not. But it ain't about that, because we know that because Shmurla went on the show and he was the one. He goes, the people that have a interest in going against this whatever for financial, because they want to make money. So it's like the guy who just made a ton of money has the audacity to say that people like your brother wants to make money. Like, what? So we know that it's not about money.
Right. So those kind of answers, you know why he's so confident in saying those kind of answers?
Why?
Because you notice he didn't come on in the beginning of this thing. He came on after the media, the schmedia, put in tons and tons and tons of work, months, almost years now, layering of this hypnotic message, basically every answer that he gave has already been repeated ad nauseum for a long time.
For sure.
And now it's just rattling around in the psyches of people. People have accepted it,
and he's just reinforcing. He's here to reinforce.
Yeah, he just stuck to the script. That's all. Yeah.
And you see, Lex Friedman tried to push him a little bit. He was trying to be, because Lex Friedman's a very nice guy. That's the problem. He's not a ruthless killer. You know, when it comes to people who are like, he's used to just having these kind of very kind of educational podcasts with PhD guys talking about robotics and AI. You know, and high ideas, right? He's not here to be Chris Wallace attacking freaking
Chris Wallace.
Well, no, I'm saying he's not here to. It's a bad example. I'm just saying he's not here to be
very bad.
No, he's not here to be what's her face, the chick that interviewed Putin and just go at his glotka, at his throat, you know.
I didn't see that interview. That's interesting.
What's her face, the blonde, whatever. She also turned out to be a turncoat in the end. But the point is.
Yeah, I doubt any legitimate person is going to go anywhere near Putin or any of these guys.
In terms of just actually pressing him?
Right. I find it, look, call me, extreme, I guess. It's very, very difficult for me to believe any non-filtered person gets anywhere near these assholes.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so Friedman tried to press him on Schmeivermectin.
Yeah.
And the guy automatically, goes, I haven't seen one study. There hasn't been any study. And it's like there was small studies, and he mentioned there's small studies that amount to a meta study. He's like, I don't know about that at all. Automatically he just shut him down. And I'm sitting there poor guy, this nice Friedman guy. He's a nice guy. He's too nice, It's just.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what he thought was going to happen.
I don't know. He was just, he's very. You know who this Friedman guy reminds me of? He reminds me of these 23-year-old guys in Machon Shlomo. You know the yeshiva Machon Shlomo?
Yeah.
These very, very tech-savvy computer guys, scientist guys who end up taking a year off from college to go to Machon Shlomo and become a Litvak. Very nice guys. And they go, and then so when you sit down and you talk to them about ideas, they always try to be kind of on the a very even keel, taking no sides, being very adel kind of way about them. I'm telling you, this guy should just go. It's a shame he's 33 already. I wouldn't even send him to yeshiva at this point. Maybe I would. He reminds me of those guys in Machon Shlomo that I met, or Esha Torah. These very adel guys who don't, I don't bother with politics kind of thing, you know. I just stick to my AI and my you know and my math and my like highfalutin academic ideas and Torah.
Right.
You know, that's what I'm here for. And so like something that's like shocking that comes into their purview, it's like it's like a shock that you see their face, like it just turns like, you know, because they just spent like weeks sitting in the old city, steiging Torah and flying on in the sky. They have this like dumb, durnoya lipka, you know, dumb looking smile on their face,
Right.
and now you just brought them back down to earth with this evil mf'er. That's what Lex Friedman reminds me of.
Yeah.
You know?
Lex faces evil.
Yeah.
Lex versus evil.
Yeah.
It's fun. But he's probably a Yid, right?
He's Jewish for sure. He's a Russian Jew from Moscow. He came.
No, I know. I mean, I'm sure at least his father is. But,
He is fully Jewish, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
I would think so too.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. So, you know, even when he had what's his name, Michael Malice on a show, and Michael Malice is bringing all his like kind of very, very ideas that are very set. You know, Michael Malice has very clear cut and almost, you know, some people think like extremist or to one side ideas, and Friedman is trying to kind of like water him down, because he was always say like kind of as a joke, "Come on, man, like, you know, it can't be that like that, right?"
yeah.
And Michael Malice is always like, "Come on, man," not in these words, but he's just like looking at him, "Come on, bro, like don't be naive, like what's wrong with you?" He would say in Russian,
Like,
"Tavarish."
you know what that
Yeah.
means?
Yeah.
You know what that means, by the way?
What?
That means like, come on, man. Please don't tell me reality is like this. Don't bring me
Exactly.
there. I want to know that it's really that true.
Yeah,
Please don't
I
tell
sit-
me it's that true.
You know, yeah, this Friedman guy, he's like, I'm sitting in a lab all day and I'm dealing with robots and like formulas, and like, don't tell me reality's like that. Don't tell me reality's as like a bad science fiction movie that I'm trying to avoid.
Right. It can't be that bad.
It can't be that
because
bad.
Otherwise, I can't function. Don't
Yeah.
tell me that.
They're not compute, and there's like smoke's coming out of his ears, you know?
Yeah.
Some people thought that Friedman was himself a robot, so, you know, there's like, he can't compute these ideas, certain things, certain realities. So,
Yeah.
whatever. I was watching this, I'm like yelling, it's like one of those things, like it's like watching a movie and the villain is doing something and you know what he's doing, everybody knows what he's doing, so you're like, I'm like yelling at the screen, you know? And you just hope that when is this movie going to be over, and when are the villains going to be already, you know?
Yeah. It's like, bitch, don't take a shower.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, exactly. He's like, how come
become the black dude in the
yeah, how
movie,
come you never see black people? They just run. He's like, run, bitch, run. He's like, they just run away. They ain't taking no
bitch.
shower. He's like, I'll take a shower next week, motherfucker.
Oh, listen. You know, I remember Patrice O'Neal had something about that, right?
Yeah.
He goes, man, I'm tired of these white boys who are like trying so hard, like not to be racist. He goes, it's not necessary. Like he goes, I'm a racist, right?
Yeah.
He says that like every show.
Yeah.
And which is hilarious.
Yeah.
And he goes, look, man. He goes, you know, I'm tired of hearing these white boys say like, yeah, I was walking down the street and I saw these black dudes, but I don't want to be racist, so I didn't cross the street. I got my ass kicked, right?
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like, so he goes, look, man, if I'm walking down the street somewhere in the South, right, and
Yeah.
I see a bunch of bald white dudes coming out, I'm running. I
Yeah.
ain't gonna be like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't want to be racist, you know. And they could have been like, dude, wait, where you going? We're coming from chemotherapy class. Like, don't be scared of us, right? That's literally what he said. It's kind of messed up to say what he said, but still, it's like,
Yeah.
it's just hilarious.
Yeah, like, but yeah.
It's like, just run.
Yeah,
You know, just
yeah,
run.
yeah,
Don't worry
yeah.
about what people think.
Exactly.
That's why I love him. I
So,
love Patrice.
yeah. But, I don't know, man. It was difficult to watch this whole thing. It was very, very hard to watch it. And I'm just wondering, I don't know, it's just like, I guess Hashem just really wants to destroy these people once and for all, so he's just basically letting them do, I mean, it's a famous, I guess from Hal idea, he's just letting them do the maximum amount of whatever, but the problem is, like, people are being hurt.
I'm fed up with that answer. It's
I'm
not
also
very
fed up,
satisfying.
I'm also fed up with that answer, because we're still,
Because it's the baby.
Yeah.
It seems like he's throwing out the baby with the
exactly,
bathwater.
verstees. Yeah, that's number one, and it's just like, you know, it's like Judge Smales from, a Caddyshack. Well, we're waiting. Well, Danny?
You'll eat it and like it.
You'll get nothing like it.
Right.
He's like, I want a
That's
hamburger.
such
I
a
want a
great line.
cheeseburger. You'll get that. That's what I want to tell people like who are like entitled, you know, like people who like sound entitled. I'm just like, you'll get nothing like it, man. Dude, I'll tell you something. Like, you know, I went out. Obviously, I saw somebody, whatever, certain, went on a date, right? So the other night. So like, this is in Manhattan. So what did this date amount to? Just literally sitting in the car, and so nobody get the wrong idea. Literally sitting in the car and talking. Mamash.
That sometimes you have the best time.
The best time. Yeah, and then I get home, and you know, I'm just staying with my parents temporarily. That I'm visiting, and my mother's like, no, how'd it go? I was like, yeah, we just hung out. She's like, what'd you do? I'm like, we just hung out in the car. She's like, I don't understand. She's like, there's nowhere to go in Manhattan. I'm like, nowhere if you ain't got no schmacks, papieren. She's like, and then she's just like, so it turns out like you basically can't go anywhere. I'm like, I can go anywhere besides Manhattan. I'm like, what? And then I go, what? Manhattan is the only place on the planet? She's like, yeah, like jokingly, but like, and then my mother's just like, she sat there, paused, and then she's just like, what are these MFers doing to the city? And then she's just like, you know, in Russian, she's like, "Чтоб они все сдохли." You know, let them like croak, let them choke on their, you know, on their soup or whatever. And what was that?
Nobody questions that that's going to happen. It's just how long are they going to run amok?
Yeah. So I don't even know where. So what I was saying was like, you know, honestly, and then I just kind of like yelled out. I was just like, she goes, so now you can't go to this place and that place. I'm like, as if I used to go. No, she's like, you can't go to restaurants. I'm like, did I look like the type of person that used to care if I can go to restaurants or not in Manhattan? She's like, you used to go to clubs. I'm like, when was this? Back in the days of Paul Oakenfold, 2005? What? I was just like, she's like, no, recently you went to, I'm like, I went to like I went to like Avant Gardner right before before I moved back to Israel in 2019, just to like dance it out. And then when I went there, it was like, I realized how awful everything is because everything became mainstream. Even the underground became mainstream. Like even the underground is underground mainstream.
Yeah, and you know when that happened? Do you remember the era of the mashup?
Yeah.
I think it's coincided with when
2010
to like
2010, 2011, 12, that whole.
The mainstream came and assimilated.
Yeah.
The underground, like the Borg, assimilates society, civilization.
No, now you even have people like Sasha, where it's like he'll play stuff, but then it's like people who are in the mainstream will go hear him, and I'm like, I don't want you here. Like to the people that are standing next to me, who don't know how to dance, they just know how to stand and look at the freaking DJ with their phone. They don't know how to dance no more.
I never knew how to dance.
No, but like they don't know. They don't know how to. They don't know how to be in a club. Like they don't know how to be in a setting in a club. Like. Even if you dance like a retard, just dance. Don't stand like a robot looking at the DJ with your phone. This is not a concert. This is a dancing thing. What's wrong with you? Blin.
You ever heard that the sage wisdom, the saying? I think I might have told you this before. It's from Norm Macdonald. He goes, love like you've never been hurt.
Yeah.
Dance like no one's watching.
Yeah.
And F like a damn retard.
Exactly. It's funny. So somebody mixed that up and they went to dance like a retard and F like nobody's watching and love like you want to hurt somebody or something like that.
Right.
He's like you told me to do it. He's like I told you idiot. Anyway, no, it's just crazy, bro. And like my mom's just like, no, you went there, you went here. I'm like, I don't give a damn. I'm like, okay, so like whoop-de-doo. And so basically it's like I don't feel a privilege that I'm entitled, you know, like that I'm entitled to anything. I'm not entitled to go to a comedy club. I'm entitled to fight evil MFers and like I'm entitled to understand that like I'm in a Normandy situation.
Yeah, this is not.
Yeah.
People don't realize like this is not, you know.
You're in a war.
People, there's an attempted genocide that's occurring.
Yeah, like focus on surviving.
Try to live first, then go to a restaurant later, some other time, perhaps.
I even said that to people. This is when they had the lockdowns in Israel, and I just wrote out like, you know, people were upset about it. They can't go to a minyan. I'm like, yo, live now, daven later. I even went that far, you know, because like, whatever, you know, they were locking people down. That's a whole other story, you know, the whole thing of closing places of worship because you don't want people to be able to connect to Hashem. But what these schmucks don't realize is that you can still connect to Hashem even if you're not in a place of worship.
Yeah,
Hey.
that is true.
So how do we get people into being underground?
So I think that the underground mentality, the real underground, not
Yeah.
not just trying to put on the levushim,
No,
the garments.
Yeah.
It's not like, becoming a goth or something like
Yeah.
that. The real underground, what is that? That's people. It takes a certain level of, normally people would say intelligence, but that's not really accurate.
Yeah.
It is an instinct.
Yeah.
An ability to sense when something is. It's the first time I'm ever actually trying to coherently express this idea.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the words.
Yeah.
When somebody's able to sense a resonance, when things are resonating with the natural order,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when things are a little bit off,
Mm-hmm.
those who can sense that tend to be in the underground.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? And musically, probably in every way. But
So
we're talking, we're focusing on music here.
now here's my question. You're right when you're saying that. So how come all these people that I know, that I used to go to these parties with, who were also making fun of the mainstream and all this kind of stuff, how come they're the biggest today? If you meet them, some of them, not all of them, some of them are the biggest vaxadoodles you'll ever meet in your life.
Well, it's like the hippie. It's like the hippies from the '60s became the corporate execs.
Yeah.
They sold out. You know why? So no, the question is, why did they sell out? What led to
They're
that?
still voting for Barnila Sanders, and they're still voting for AOC and all these people.
That doesn't mean anything. What I'm saying is that what if they still had the instinct?
Yeah.
They wouldn't be voting for that, because their instinct would tell them stay away from Schmanders and Schmaoc.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, that goes out the window. You know what I think? I think that, let's say the people who became hippies, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
People associate them with weed and drugs.
Yeah.
I believe that those people could have potentially
Mm-hmm.
been okay, and that the fact that drugs became such a prevalent thing among them was a psyop.
I think so, yeah.
Perpetrated by
Yeah.
the intelligence agencies.
For
You
sure.
know why?
For sure.
Because it was those drugs themselves, specifically weed, it didn't make them more sensitive that something was off. It made them less sensitive.
So here's my question: why was there such a fight by people, certain they're not even lobby, they're like activists who have been for the legalization of weed for years? They had to the government was fighting them on this, to the point, and the government knew that they could tax this, but they fought them like tooth and nail. So what you're saying, that's also part of a psyop to pretend that they're against it? You know what I'm saying?
I think that whatever psyop decisions the intelligence agencies make, right? It doesn't necessarily automatically supersede the profit, the money-making ability of those who are controlling them.
Or the political machinations in Congress or something like that. It doesn't supersede. Sometimes it doesn't even supersede that.
Right. You have like alcohol, tobacco. That was a big lobby. So they want to use everything. They want to be able to control whatever it is there that is able to influence. So even though they didn't want weed to become mainstream and available, because that would ruin other things that they're trying to do.
Do you know what's interesting to me? That there's
let me finish the thought. I was only halfway. Yeah. So, but at the same time, they wanted to use the negative aspects of of weed and namely like other drugs, right? Which were abused. Like even if you say that there are studies that show that there are some benefits to mind expansion, perhaps,
or medicinal even there are.
Yeah, but right, but the way it was used in the '60s was insanely abused. It was insanely abused.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was promoted. Okay, so they needed drugs to hurt the hippies to make them less sensitive. Okay, but they needed to keep it away from the other people because it might perhaps increase their sensitivity a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Because like my rabbi says that the beginning of his journey was that one or two instances where he just smoked, and then after that that's when he started searching, and that smoking did not open him up to Torah. It opened him up to himself, and the search for himself led to the search for something greater, which was Torah. In his case.
Yeah. So that's where I was actually going.
Yeah.
So the hippies that made it.
Yeah.
The hippies that made it. You know where they became? They became Chabadniks.
Or they became Eric Clapton, who's against this crap also. Or Van Morrison.
I don't know if Eric Clapton was ever really a hippie.
No, I'm saying like he was. You could look at him. You could look at what he looked like back then.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, he was more like he was really just kind of like a guy who worshipped blues legends, that kind of thing. He wasn't really about that.
Not here. I mean, everybody was caught into that, no matter what you tried to do.
Right.
At that time.
Right. So when you have like hippies who are too out of their minds to realize that Che was a murderer, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're too high to care.
Yeah, or that he was homophobe, on top of that, and a racist.
Yeah. Hated black dudes.
Hated black people, hate gays.
Jews goes without saying. Hated them, of course.
Yeah, of course. Hated Israel.
And there's no point to even bring that up. It's like, just goes without saying.
Yeah.
So,
but you're saying so the Lubavitchers made it.
But
these guys.
I'm, to be honest with you, I'm glad he didn't like Jews. I don't want anybody like that liking me. That means, you know what I mean? Like I don't need. It's like having David Duke, support you in the election.
It was like the indefensible point that these schmucks were making. Oh, David Duke. What do you want Trump to do? You want him to go into the ballot box and tell David Duke to vote for whatever his name was, the third guy.
Anyway, he disavowed him several times.
Yeah.
And also, what people don't understand, David Duke now supports Biden.
Yeah.
Nobody cared. At that point, nobody was like,
that's so freaking crazy. Well, they could just say, well, no, he supports a white, all the Bernie bots today. Well, he supports the next white guy. Очередной white guy, as we say in Russian. Off the conveyor belt, Even though Bernie's white, but he's Jewish, so I guess whatever. But no, so you're saying the Chabadniks, the hippies became the Lubavitchers.
Yeah, because the hippies, some of the hippies became Lubavitchers, or they went forward to to really experiment with consciousness.
Yeah.
Right? To interact with it and the source of it, right? So that's really what it was about. And so those are the success stories, you could say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they tend to be now like people who were hippies in the past tend to, if they're still intelligent and they still have their wits about them, they I noticed they tended to side with Trump, or at least agreed with most of what he was doing.
Yeah.
So
because they were able to look past the man and see what would be the ramifications if Trump was the president, which is basically like unraveling of all the systems that these hippies railed against for years. Like that's the most amazing thing to me. All these hippies are all of a sudden they're the biggest fans of big effing pharma. It's like, what is wrong? No, well, they're saving our lives. What are we supposed to do? What is wrong with you? They got sued for $9 billion freaking dollars. Hello.
Well, hippies, or most of them before, not the most
well-informed
people.
No, I mean, like, listen, dude. I'm telling you, I used to listen to these kids, the ones that I was friends with in the scene, who were actually against Israel. They were against Bush going into Iraq because they thought it was a war for Israel, and they were railing about the what is it, the military-industrial complex, right? I didn't even know what the hell they were talking about that time. Today, I know all this stuff, right? And I agree. And looking back, I actually agree with those previous opinions, those from the past. And I remind them, I'm like, you were the one that was railing on about the industrial freaking complex. And this is what they're still doing. These deep state guys. Your Obama, your Bidens, your this, your Clinton, even your Bush. They're all doing this. They're all involved in this. This guy came along, he's trying to break all that. And you guys are like, oh, he's a racist, misogynist, he grabs people's between the legs. And he's a red carrot. And he's a and Russia. Dude, I don't know. What happened to these people?
I think it could also be that there are some people who they just never progressed in maturity in certain aspects of their life. About, let's say, like think about the Tiger Woods thing, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Norm Macdonald would say he does like an impression of one of these type of people.
Yeah.
Right? That's a big part of his act. He's like, he goes, oh, Tiger Woods, I'm very disappointed with Tiger Woods. He goes, I thought that he was a golfer. That's what I thought. Turns out he likes to lie down with the ladies. Who would have known? I thought he was a golfer. Right? Like, that's what people are not very, they're not very, they're very shallow in the way they think about others, especially, especially, let's say, people in leadership positions, right?
Yeah.
Like the guy who you like to watch play golf, you didn't assume that he also has every other human, tendency.
Yeah. Like, no, because, well, the thing is, Tiger did build up this kind of very, very wholesome persona, and, his father is black and his mother is Thai.
No, but again, that's why it's important.
Yeah.
That's why they try to build up personas like that, because they know people are immature in the way they view celebrities and people who are supposedly leadership positions.
That's why. Well, it's ironic then that the guy who was on the Wheaties box when he was an athlete in the 70s became then this very, very brave transgender guy, and nobody seemed to have a problem with it. Well, at least half the country didn't. And then another ironic twist, this guy himself came out and said, wokeness is insane. I'm going to run for, governor in California on the Republican ticket. And I'm just, whatever, I'm a transgender person who I feel like a woman, but I'm not going to freaking virtue signal my stuff to you. So it's like, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. What's going on, man? Like Tower of Babel. Tower of Babel, man. I don't know. What do you make of all this? It's just.
So, I mean, they're just trying. Look. He's kind of a Trojan horse, I think.
Yeah.
Because what's the primary? What are they really trying to do? What is the primary?
What they're trying to do is kill Puruvu, as I wrote to you the other day.
No, but that's not the fundamental thing they're trying to do. There's a reason why they're trying to kill Puruvu.
Yeah.
They're trying to create and again, we talked about this before. They found the tower, the generation after the flood, when they were repopulating the earth, they got to a certain amount of people, and they were still all living together.
Yeah.
Right? And they were moving around to find a good place to create a comfortable settlement, and they found the valley called Shinar.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And this is all literal and allegorical.
Is that kind of like the name of the Russian restaurant in Staten Island, Chinar?
No, that's Chinar.
Yeah.
We're talking about Shinar, which is SH. Chinar is CH.
No, it's CH, but I mean, whatever. Maybe
Wise
it's the same
guy.
place. I don't know. Anyway, come on.
All right. Okay, so basically, they found in that valley, they found some kind of. It's described as a shiur koma,
Mm-hmm.
Shira Kama is the deepest secrets of Kabbalah Ma'asit,
Mm-hmm.
which is it's technological. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so they found something. They understood that they lived in a matrix. Okay, and they wanted to find a way to create their own matrix within the general matrix that God had created.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, and this whole thing that they were building, this city that they were building, and the tower,
Yeah.
okay, was related to it in some way.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and it wasn't just, their own little like bubble. They wanted to create, in a sense, a kind of a universe. Like they wanted to take this shield, this bubble that they believe would shield them from the natural order, which means from God's retaliation.
Yeah.
Okay, they viewed, they wanted to protect. They didn't want another flood. They didn't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
And they wanted to launch an offensive against those who represent God's authority, the angels, and they wanted to protect themselves and have a bubble of where they can live without God's influence.
So the offensive would be would be launched only if they build like this tower to get up to Shemayim, what they thought was Shemayim.
Right, but it's amazing. People should read the commentary of Rabbi Yonatan Eibeshitz from he's a mid 1600s. Yeah. And not just him, but he just writes incredible. He talks about, he's saying that there was actually three different factions, not really factions, but there are three different aspects to this operation. Mm-hmm. Some of the people, they wanted to go to the moon, launch themselves from the tower, go to the moon.
That's crazy.
And to inhabit an already inhabited colony or some kind of habitation that already existed at the time. Yeah. Okay? The other group wanted to do something else. They wanted to actually go and attack the quote-unquote angels that attacked the earth. Mm-hmm. Okay? Because they didn't want to just be there sitting ducks. Yeah. They totally rebelled against God's authority entirely. They didn't want God's influence at all. The only reason why God didn't wipe them out is because, well, for two reasons. He promised on a certain extent not to do it. He really promised not to do it with a flood, but I think the general point was to not do it in general. Yeah. And also, he was very happy that they were working together. So there's two levels of transgression in the Torah. You have man transgressing against God and man transgressing against man. Right? Even on the Ten Commandments, you can see that the commandments themselves are split up into those two different categories. Yeah. Okay? So God can tolerate transgression against him. But he is less tolerant when man transgresses against man. Yeah. So the fact that they were working together in unison actually made him happy. He recognized that positivity, okay? Yeah. And that's why they merited not to be destroyed, even though they were launching a complete civil war against him and everything that he stands for. Yeah. Okay? Mm-hmm. So basically, obviously they didn't have total picture of, nowadays when we say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, Hear O Israel, Yud Hey Vav Hey is our Elokim. Mm-hmm. Yud Hey Vav Hey Echad. Okay. So people knew about Elokim, but they didn't know about Yud Hey Vav Hey. Yeah. And even those who heard about Yud Hey Vav Hey didn't know that Yud Hey Vav Hey and Elokim are one. They didn't know that. Yeah. That's like a big revolutionary, nuclear bomb idea, that was dropped on the world because people were very, very hooked into the matrix. They understood the programming aspect of the universe. All this magic that we hear about in ancient times and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. That wasn't magic. That was people who knew how to program the matrix that we live in. Yeah. Okay. So those who knew the programming language, they were able to do a lot of interesting, impressive things. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so the people right now, we're trying to kind of develop technology, right? Yeah. mechanical technology, little doohickeys and devices, and electrical stuff. And some people in the past, they knew that they already were existing within the most sophisticated technological thing that there could be, and that they can use that sophisticated machinery to manifest whatever they need to manifest. They don't need to set up, vast grids to light up houses. They can use the programming language to do so, and to leave things natural.
Yeah.
Okay. So people wondering if these civilizations were so, if they were so, advanced, how come we're not finding their fidget spinners or their
because
Swatch watches?
Because it wasn't about that. It was about tapping
because
into
Swatch watches and fidget spinners and iPhones are massively. They are barbaric caveman.
They're cumbersome compared to the stuff that they had. Yeah, for sure. And so now it all comes back to the Tic Tac guys, who are maybe just coming back. Who are from.
They're coming back to show us how irrelevant. Yeah. Listen. You got to give me 2 minutes. I just remembered something.
Sure.
I was watching just the other day a video. Somebody made a video about Elon Musk's vision. I don't think it was Elon Musk himself, but it was very well made video.
Yeah.
How there's going to be a gradual progression and movement of people to Mars. First, they're going to launch the stuff that the people are going to need on Mars. Then eventually they're going to have these robots there. The robots are going to start building up the settlement.
He himself said within 5 years. Within 5 years,
what?
He said. He himself said within 5 years there's going to be a whole situation.
He has this whole vision lined up, right? Yeah. And then it goes for like 100 years. It goes. First you have like 30 people, some scientists, and then more people show up. Some people go back. It's this whole progressive thing where in the end you end up with like something. I think the video ended where there's like a colony of 70,000 people or something like that, and then there's already terraforming going on, and it takes 100 years, and it's so. Now if you take that idea and you compare it to what is in the news right now about these Tic Tac things, okay, it is embarrassing to even consider doing what he's doing.
Yeah, that's true.
You're sending people into space in a tin can.
You're risking their lives.
Blowing up into space when you put a stick of dynamite underneath it and blow it up into space.
No, you're risking their lives. Also, you see the movie with Matt Damon where he just got stuck there and you can't barely live there. A guy had to formulate a little leaf so you could grow a seed and grow things to eat or whatever it was, potatoes. I don't know what he grew.
Yeah. Norm Macdonald said, he goes, Elon Musk, genius or the world's most creative serial killer.
That's funny.
So
what does it have to do with these guys that are trying to live? The people here that are trying, like Schwab, that are trying to live outside of.
So Klaus Schwab and Jenner, right? Bruce Jenner. I'm not going to call him Caitlyn Jenner. That's a man.
Yeah.
Just want to remind people.
It's a man, baby.
It's a man, baby.
That's not your mother. It's a man. What she did? Carnies.
Small hands smell like cabbage. Circus folk,
You couldn't pull that off today. You couldn't pull any of this movie off today. You understand? These people are the anti-creatives. He's woke. Anyway, go on. Sorry.
So, that's all right. So basically, you have people like Bruce Jenner and Klaus Schwab and all these. So they are melting everything that God wants, everything that God likes about the structure of society, the institutions of society. They are specifically melting those aspects. They're trying to get people to do away with anything that God likes, specifically those things that God likes. So God created the world male and female, not just people, everything. The universe itself lives in a context of a male and a female energy. Anything that exists in the universe which receives is female. Anything that gives is male. More than that, any situation that people are in, for instance, if you are at a candy store, okay, and the person who is giving you the product is the male in this circumstance. That is a male action.
Yeah, it's a male.
person receiving-
Even the Russian language or there's a lot of languages, not just Russian, that have gender about when they name you're naming objects. You know, tarelka. You know, it's a plate, but it's a female object. Stol,
Exactly.
stol, table. It's a male. Телевизор, male. Машина,
Absolutely.
female. You know, страна,
This-
female. You know, a country.
Yes, that's right. It's built into
Into
the
language.
basic framework of the universe. That's what God wants.
Yeah.
Like a teacher is the male, and the student is the female. Do you understand? Not gender-wise,
Yeah.
but energy-wise in that moment.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, and God is neither male nor female. However, in the context of God's relationship to us, He is the male,
Yeah,
and we are the female.
we're the wife. That's when the Jewish people with the wife, and
Right.
He's on.
God wants male and female. He wants this interaction, this
So
back
now,
and forth.
so now is
this
my question: what about
relationship.
the whole idea of when you go back to Adam and Hava, when they're this androgynous being, to which actually there's like these lefty Chabadniks who try to reconcile what's going on today with transgenderism, and they're saying, oh well, that's just we're going back to that androgynous being from Kabbalah,
No.
Hasidus.
We're not going back to that androgynous.
I know,
being. That's
I
not
know we're
correct.
not. I know we're not.
So,
Chas v'shalom.
so I heard Rabbi Bax talk about this. He actually, on his website, cityofluz.com,
Mhm.
he has a number of essays there that he offers that you can read for free.
Mhm.
He discusses this phenomenon, this transgender phenomenon that's occurring, as it is a consciousness that we're basically getting the ass end of it right now. Meaning, it goes back to that thing where the Sitra Achra gets it first.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
People are going to understand that Adam it started out as a being that is both male and female. One being with a male and a female aspect to it. God later split this being into male and female, and then wants an endless reunification
Mhm.
process. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because while they were one being, they could never. First of all, it's described. The language is described as they were back to back.
Yeah.
So if you want to use a physical allegory, a metaphor, imagine like a sort of like Siamese twins, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
But they're kind of in this instance they're back to back.
Yeah.
They don't have a back at all. Like they share the same spine and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
And so it's like a head with two faces, one male and one female, and the same thing with the body.
Yeah.
Okay. So God, so this was one being, and that's ultimately our origin and our source and what we are in our essence. However, God wanted this being to first be separate and then be reunited in a much deeper way.
Yeah.
So and also the reuniting process should be an infinite one.
Yeah.
So sex is that process in its highest level.
Yeah.
If a person dispels all the immaturity and all the garbage,
Priestess and all that stuff. Yeah.
right? If they're able to, I haven't. I'm not. I'm definitely not on that
Same,
level. But
same,
I'm
same.
aware that such a level exists.
Yeah.
So basically, if a person ever reaches that level, then they understand that that really the point of that part of life is to enjoy this infinite reunification with something that is essentially you on the deepest level. Okay? And that goes both ways, right? For men and for women, right? So, and also it is I'm not going to say a metaphor, I'm not going to say a symbol, but it is a way for us to understand God's relationship with human beings or with his creation in general. Okay? So God wants to, in a sense, like, it's almost like the entire creation, whatever's considered the creation, something that's split off from God, at least perceptually, right? Nothing ever splits off from God. Because on the deepest level of reality, ein od milvado.
Yeah.
But God wanted to maintain this illusion of separation. Why? So that we can spend infinity reuniting, an infinite level, an infinite process of reunification. And it gets deeper and deeper and deeper every single episode, every single level, every single time. And this idea of the sexual behavior is a metaphor for that, where there is a reunification and then there is a distancing and a unification, right? So if a person is mature and they can really just think about things in a purely intellectual way and disconnect from the nonsense for like 17 seconds, they could see the parallels between everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the most important thing to God, that there be a man and a woman and that they unify. And then distance, and then unify, and then distance, because each time they come together, it's closer, it's deeper. That's the ideal way that this is supposed to work. Okay, that's how it's going to work. That's when Mashiach comes. That's when Mashiach is coming to set up these institutions that facilitate our ability to experience what God wants us to experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're of course going to do everything to the opposite.
So I think it's
direction.
obviously deeper than that. I think not only they're doing the unraveling and opposite, I think they're doing their own set of let's say halachas and rituals, whatever they, picked up from different pagan things.
We talked about this.
We spoke about it. I'm saying, but part of
rituals.
What's up?
Listen, those pagan rituals are based. Like when you go through halacha, right? Yeah. And you see, there's mitzvot that say you can't do this type of avodah zarah. You can't do that type of avodah zarah. Yeah. All the real avodah zarah is based on the opposite of halacha. Yeah. Meaning specifically whatever it is, they study halacha. They're experts in it.
You think these guys? Dafka know halacha?
I believe that they
Shmab?
Well, on the highest levels, no doubt.
Yeah.
But also on the just instinctually, they understand that they don't want to be dominated by God. And ultimately, regardless of what people say, it's hard for some people to admit this. Yeah. But it ultimately comes down to, I don't want someone to tell me how to have sex. Yeah. I want to just explore that to infinity. Yeah. I don't need limitations on it. Okay, I want everything.
The sad part is that none of this would even be enabled if Israel had not participated, had not been the first one to participate in this grand experiment.
Thanks, Farrakhan. Good idea.
No, it's not Farrakhan. It's no. It's got.
I know that.
I'm not blaming. What I'm saying is it all begins and ends with us. That's what I'm saying. It's not a question of Farrakhan. It's not a question of let's blame it. It begins and ends with us.
I'm saying is that's what Farrakhan says.
No, but he wouldn't say it begins and ends. He wouldn't say, if Bennett just stops this, the whole world's going to stop it. No, he wouldn't say that.
No, he's not saying that. But he's basically saying that the Jews are to blame for everything, and they lead the way and all the bad stuff.
But it's not. It's not a question of lead the way and bad stuff. It's a question of just meaning the world. He's saying good. He just doesn't know he's saying good. He could be saying the world takes its cues from us. You understand?
He's saying he's not.
We're the adults in the room. We're the humans. They're the rest of the world is.
He's using a partial. Listen, he's using a partial truth to pick, but on top of that partial truth, he wants to piggyback a ton of evil.
I know, but I'm not even trying to go by him. I'm just saying that the minute Bennett himself decides, which he won't, but the minute something makes Bennett decide to put the kibosh on everything. People are going to be like, why did Israel just suddenly stop their whole vaccination program? Why are they not going with the fourth whatever? Why are they not going with the fifth? What happened in Israel that they're just stopped this whole thing? Maybe, or whatever. Let's say the people just don't comply. 55% of the people are not going to take, the people who took 2 shots, 55% of them are not going to take the third one. They're not. It's a fact. They don't trust the ministry of stealth. So the minute that all stops over there is the minute that the rest of the world stops. It's like the machine, that's the engine. The rest of the world is just the parts. You know what I mean? and it extends to enabling Schmab to do what he's doing, and Schmates and Schmab and whoever.
I'm gonna go. Do you mind if I go back to Norm Macdonald for a second?
Please do. You can always go back to Norm Macdonald. You don't have to ask permission.
All right. I don't want people to get sick of Norm.
No, there's no getting sick of Norm.
And I want everybody else.
We're gonna flood the next episode. We're gonna flood with next episode's gonna be 30, so we're gonna flood that with Norm.
All right.
It's gonna be a dedicated episode dedicated to Norm, the 30th episode.
How come 30?
I don't know. I have no idea. I just want it that way.
Well, I mean, listen. I think all these episodes, we don't need to do a specifically Norm-centered episode because he's basically a cast member.
He is, yeah.
So,
so
basically
he's here in spirit.
Yeah, or you know what you could do instead of dedicating an episode, you could say, let's just call one of the episodes, let's be Norm.
Yeah, let's be Norm. Episode 30.
Yeah.
Let's be Norm Al, like AL in parentheses.
Yeah, we could do that too. So basically, Norm, Norm Macdonald, this is the last time he appeared on David Letterman, because this was actually Letterman's last episode before he was retiring. So he was a great admirer of Norm Macdonald.
Quote unquote retirement, because now he's on Netflix. So when you retire, you go to Netflix.
Well, yeah, I didn't know that, really.
Yeah, he's on Netflix, and then Jon Stewart also has his own show, I think, somewhere.
Him and his Letterman with his Santa Claus beard.
My God, he's like I'm telling you, he's like the Rebbe of the Goyim. Ridiculous. Anyway,
I don't know. He's a disappointment, whatever. But the point is, so he was on the show, and he was saying, he goes, I'm not really scared of Iran, Iraq, and North Korea and all this kind of stuff. You know what I'm really scared of? I'm scared of the country of Germany. Mm-hmm. He goes. I don't know if you guys are history buffs, but not too long ago, in the beginning of the previous century, Germany decided to go to war with the world. and he goes. You think that had never been tried before, right? And he goes, you think that it would kind of like that the world would win in like 2 seconds. He goes, but it was actually close.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
because the world can't believe that. Why would somebody go to war with us? Anyway, go.
And then a few decades later, right? They did it again. This time they had that guy. Klein. He goes. I'm not gonna dignify him by saying his name here, but I think you know who I'm talking about, right? Yeah. So he's like, and then he goes, and after that, and again they went to war with the world, right? He goes, and you think that afterwards the world be like, all right, Germany, listen, you don't get to be a country no more, right? On account that you want to go to war with the world, right? So now it's funny, like Germany really isn't kind of a country anymore, right? Yeah. But there's one German who decided to go to war with the world.
Exactly.
Klaus Schwab.
Yeah. Under the guise of like internationalism, under the guise of some sort of non-aligned whatever thing. Non-elected, non-aligned. Yeah, World Economic Forum. There you go. It's economic. It's a forum. It's in the world. It's the entire world. It's amazing.
Some hell of a thing.
Some marabi. He's like, my mother hung me on a hook once. 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 Well, see, man, that kind of stuff also. Bro? Like, it's just...
Where is Joe Piscopo? It feels like the world is not a better place without him.
He's chilling in Jersey. He's a Baruch Hashem alive. He should Ad Mea Isrim. And
what is he?
What?
What is he? Ad Mea.
I said Ad Mea Isrim for him. Like until he should live until 120.
Oh yeah.
And he's Baruch Hashem alive. I think he's like in his 60s or something like that. Maybe even 70 years old.
Joe Piscopo has brought great joy to many people than most people have.
Dude, so now think about this. When Eddie Murphy was on SNL, he was 20 years old, 21 years old. Joe Piscopo was like 35.
Wow.
And they were like, bosom buddies. They were like in almost, a lot of skits together and the Carl Lewis thing, whatever it is.
But no movies, if you think about it.
No, he didn't include him in any of his movies, which is very weird. Very strange.
Yeah, I mean, Piscopo. I mean, his career ended. He must have pissed somebody off.
Yeah. No, he did for sure. I think he pissed off what's his face, Lorne Michaels. Ugh.
Listen, Joe. I think you're not a good fit around here anymore. Like that's my. I actually
That's
ended
the
up
best
sounding
Lorne
more like
Michaels
Ed
impression you
Sullivan,
could.
more like Ed Sullivan than
Yeah,
Lorne Michaels.
it's like Ed Sullivan with like a sausage in his mouth.
Dude, I found the funniest skit that Saturday Night Live ever did.
Which one?
So you remember Andy Samberg,
Yes.
right? He does like those musical
Yeah,
shorts,
yeah.
right?
He was trying
Which
to
are
be
actually
the
pretty
even more idiotic version of Sandler.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
punching people while eating is hilarious. Or whatever.
What the hell?
So-
I never saw that. What is?
Oh, dude, punching people while eating. It's really catchy. But anyway, no, you'll check it out later. But
Yeah.
so he had, he's always having these harebrained ideas about skits and little short films.
Yeah.
And in this episode, Steven Spielberg was the guest host, I
The
guess.
heck? Yeah.
And then you see there's like a scene where him and Andy are like, all right, so here's what we're gonna propose. We had this idea to make a movie, this and that, right? And then they walk into they go into Lorne Michaels' office.
Oh my
right?
God. Yeah.
And then they're sitting there, and he's like sitting there all judgy, with his fingers together, listening to their proposal,
Mm-hmm.
and like Steven Spielberg is like, yeah, so it's gonna be like this. It's called Laser Cats, right? You have these cats, right?
Yeah.
And they're dressed up in like laser beams, and they're shooting laser beams at each other, right? and then they're getting all excited, right? And then Lauren is sitting there with like a stone face, and he's like, "Get out of my office." No, it's just funny. That only worked because it was Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Tell Steven Spielberg to get out of your office. It's
Yeah.
hilarious.
No, it's good. It's good. My favorite all-time SNL skit is probably Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. Hey, boys and girls.
Hello, kid.
No, he's like, hey, boys and girls. He's like, he stole a television. And like, he's just like all these different ones. Like he made a few of them.
He's like, he does it like someone's knocking on the door. He's like, man, who is it?
Who is it, man? He's like, oh, that must be the, whatever, crack dealer or something, whatever it is. Hey, boys and girls, don't do crack.
Welcome to Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood.
This was introduced to the neighborhood by the FBI. I had to educate you, boys and girls. So like, it's just like, I just made that up. He didn't actually say it. Speaking of introducing drugs into psyop, but so I don't know, man. How do we how do we just get people into listen, there's people that I know, again, it all goes back to the thing of there's people that I know who know that when it comes to every other issue, they know that all these entities are lying to them when it comes to every other issue. But for some reason, when it comes to this issue, you would think that, if anything, they would hold by that standard with this issue.
Because
they don't.
Because
they set it aside as a whole other category. It's just
it comes down to this. They're like, come on, would they really just try to kill everybody? That doesn't seem like.
Yeah, these guys are just clowns. They're not trying to kill anybody. They're just clowns. They're wrong. They're politically wrong. They're stupid, but they're not trying to kill everybody.
Why would they do that? That's why the whole money thing. The money thing. That's why I hate when people say, "Oh, it's about money and greed."
Yeah.
You know why I hate that? Because that's connected to the idea of they're not trying to kill everybody because they're not. Nobody wants to kill their customers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, they do.
They do. They do. Not only that, they're gonna make this whatever. Not even 36 billion. They're probably gonna come away with 100 billion each, and then after all the people are dead, now these guys are gonna hoard all the wealth, and then they're gonna destroy whatever's whatever it is, the dollar. They're gonna buy up all the new the new stuff, Schmidt coin and all this other stuff, and that's it. And they're just gonna make a, it all goes back to what is it, the slave class of people. And they're just gonna make a. See, this is what I don't understand. These guys clearly want to make a hierarchy. They want to resurrect what Schmittler was trying to do with hierarchy in society, right? These guys are like this.
They made it that the people want that too. That's why this whole culture, this whole cult of personality is about.
Not only that, there's even my friend was talking to me today. He goes, he's like, I'm trying to build my business, this and that, and he's like, I'm trying to, go up. He said something like, I want to be in a higher place in the social hierarchy. And I'm just like, and he heard this idea actually not from any leftists, but from Jordan Peterson. And I'm just thinking to myself, this is so like not even. It's not anti-Jewish. It's just Judaism doesn't even think in those terms. Even though we do have. That's what I want to ask you. We have the whole Kohanim, Levium, and all these kind of things. We have hierarchies in that respect with relationship to role.
Yeah, but hold on a second.
Yeah.
The Jewish hierarchies are the opposite of every other hierarchy.
I know.
Because the higher up you are in the hierarchy, the less you own and the less comfortable your life
Correct, but people have to bring you. Like with Kohanim, you have to give them your truma and all. You have to bring them stuff.
Yeah, but does nobody listen? There was
I'm talking about during the times of the Beit HaMikdash, not now.
No, but hold on. Before even the Beis HaMikdash, there was a famous episode with Kalev and his daughter Achsa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is after Othniel ben Kenaz had basically Kalev. He was the prince of Judah at that time. He said anybody who conquers Hebron, and there were four like giants there that the whole world was terrified. So he said anybody who can conquer Hebron and get rid of those four giants can be wed to my daughter Achsa, which seems like a crazy thing to do, but he knew that only the most meritorious and spiritually pure person would have the merit to be able to destroy the giants that live in Hebron. Okay, and he had a suspicion of who that would be. So it's not going to be some schmo who's a disgusting pig. Yeah. It's going to end up being the best person, the best one possible for his daughter, who was a special lady too. So after they were married, after Achsa and Othniel ben Kenaz were married, Achsa went. Let me back up. Othniel, he didn't ask for a dowry. Because he was very kind of like, he's one of these like humble like guys, and he feels weird. He couldn't get himself to ask for stuff because it felt like whatever. And Achsa, his wife, was like, "What are you doing? You're within your rights to ask for a dowry." And he's like, "I can, he couldn't do it, whatever." So she went, and this is recorded in the scripture. She went and she jumped off of her horse or whatever she was riding. It literally says that. And Kalev was like, "What's going on?" He was like startled by it. And she's like, "I want you to give us a field, not just any crappy field, but a field that has a water source, a spring running through it, so that we can have successful harvests. And that we won't have to, fend for for ourselves by begging and asking, and being like these, this charity case, right?" So that consciousness was very prevalent now and back then. People were also like, I don't want to live based on the whether or not people feel like donating to me.
Yeah.
But the Kohanim were stuck in that existence. Yeah. Okay? Because they only existed as long as the rest of the population was actually legitimately religious.
Yeah.
Nowadays, the Kohanim would be like the shluchim or the rabbis of who have to collect, and they have to like appeal to the heart of the community. Yeah, maybe if you want me here, to have a good spiritual life.
It's a Lubavitcher in South Dakota. Yeah, they're like Lubavitcher in South Dakota to justify his own existence. With the five Jews over there.
Exactly. You got to sell yourself in order just to live.
Dude, I met two Lubavitchers at my sister's engagement thing, and they were talking about these Russian-speaking guys. They were talking to my dad about how finally, a Chabad house has opened up in Lvov, Ukraine, which is a shock because that it hasn't been ever. They never had a Chabad house, and those guys go to me and asked them like, why is this the case? They're like, well, there's only like 600 or 1,000 Jews in Lvov. I'm like, okay. There's way less in South freaking Dakota. And you're talking about Lvov, man. You're not talking about South freaking Dakota. Every once in a while, some Jews come into Lvov for business or whatever it is. And it's, okay, it's in Ukraine. It's where Kiev is. It's where, it's not so close to Kiev, but it's Ukraine. Well, it's on the border of Poland.
Lvov is a notoriously, especially anti-Semitic city.
I know that, but so is, there's not one anti-Semite in Kiev or Dnipropetrovsk or Odessa?
There's plenty of anti-Semites in Kiev, but Lvov is like a, Banderovci city.
I hear, but that doesn't, you know what I'm saying? And they finally opened a Chabad house in Lvov. They could justify it. I'm like, what do you mean just? It's Lvov. It used to have 250,000 Jews. You can't keep it. There's shuls that were closed. All you have to do is just walk in, get the key, find it from the old man who kept the key,
Yeah.
and just clean the damn place, and that's it. You have a Chabad house. What's wrong with you?
Right. So today's rabbis are like the Kahanim, who are like they have to walk around like, oh, would you mind if I exist? Would you like to contribute to my existence? Which in reality, those people are they're doing their job so that the world can exist. Because if they're not operating, the world doesn't have merit to exist.
For sure. Just like the 36.
But they have to act
Tzaddikim.
like their charity cases. That's where we're holding, and the Kahanim could only have a normal, dignified life if everybody else was on board with this idea.
So
because they were not allowed to have any land.
Yeah. So would you say that Jordan Peterson inadvertently is also kind of, not that he knows it, but just perpetuating this idea of hierarchies because he's just accepting that as a fact, meaning as a reality.
No, I don't think that he's. I never get the sense that he's like, yeah, this is how it should be.
Yeah.
I think
he's just saying this is how it is.
This is how it is, and we have to understand that.
And deal with it.
If anybody who's going to climb out of their pit needs to first understand what's going on.
Yeah. No, but what he's saying is actually that you should participate in that, meaning like a man should strive to be in some level of that hierarchy, as opposed to like when you go to like, again, when you this is actually, dude, it goes back to like my own personal kind of journey where in the in these yeshivas, you're taught, no, we shouldn't care about any of these things. We're all basically, you can come up to like a celebrity and talk to them on the same level because they're human and you're human, as opposed to the American mentality is like, I'm a VIP and you're a nobody. So like the yeshiva system like says, no, there is no such thing as hierarchies. But then when I got back to America, I saw that even in the Jewish world there are hierarchies. There are hierarchies in the Frum community with shidduchim. There's hierarchies in like there's like this rabbi and you have to like whatever or like
You see, that's what Baal Teshuvos don't understand. See, it goes to the same idea. There's this book about the immigrants who came here in the early 1900s, late 1800s, where they're like, Italian, Irish, Jewish, Eastern European Jews. They're like, when we came, we heard that in America that the streets were paved with gold,
and everybody's the same.
And everybody's I'm telling you, I'm paraphrasing the book now. Yeah. So he says the streets were paved with gold. And when we got there, we realized that the streets were not paved with gold. We realized also the streets were not paved. And furthermore, we were going to pave the streets.
Exactly, verstehe. But So
in yeshiva, you're learning what God wants. Mm-hmm. They didn't tell you, they make you think like, when they say, oh, there is no hierarchies, what they're saying is there's not supposed to be hierarchies.
They're not supposed to be, but they don't tell you that there actually are.
Right. So then when you find out, but wait a minute, Rabbi, there's hierarchies. He goes, yeah, I know. We're sending you out there to change that. Like what? I didn't sign up to be
I didn't sign up to be
construction worker.
Exactly. By the way, you know what? So this is the irony of these woke schmucks because they say everybody's equal, but then they're like, at the same time, they're worshiping the opinion of celebrities. So are we equal, or are we worshiping some guy who's telling us on television to go take the schmacks? I thought we're equal. I thought we can use our own brains. Yeah, it's just
no, but that's not what equal means.
Like they're literally don't listen to Dr. Malone, listen to Big Bird, because he's a celebrity.
Big Bird, you mean the science guy?
No, literally Big Bird.
Oh, literally Big Bird.
They had Big Bird, they had Shmelmo, they had some other. They're like these four.
Not Shmelmo. Oh, Shmelmo.
Nah, it wasn't Shmelmo. It was Big Bird. It was who else? It was like I don't know. It was like the Jonas Brothers. They had the whole meme. They're like, don't listen. On top, it's like Dr. Malone and Dr. McCullough. Don't listen to these guys. Listen to these, and then on the bottom, Big Bird, Jonas Brothers, and a couple other useless clowns. Just like. See, the whole thing, what I noticed is the one person that wasn't in that meme was your brother. Because that's too much. There's too much light over that, in that corner of the universe.
They don't even want to... You know what they're doing? My brother, just the way he looks...
I know, it's
and what he represents, they wouldn't want anybody to know...
Dude... your brother, you know who your brother is? Can I make an analogy? Your brother is it would be like if George Murasan, you know George Murasan, you know the guy that used to play for the Nets?
No.
Whatever. There was this weird looking Serbian guy, 7'7". He came along and he used to play for the Nets for a shtickle. He played for the Washington Wizards. It was like the 90s after whatever. He came. It would be like if George Morrison was like better than Michael Jordan, scored 50 points a game, and then they would have to like present him to him the MVP prize in front of the entire world, and then one executive would like, well, we have no choice but to make this guy the face of the NBA. I got to show you this guy. You know what I mean? Like, not comparing your brother to George Morrison, but the point is like, yeah.
They listen. My brother. They want people, because if they look at my brother, if they bring attention to my brother by trying to slander him in the mainstream, right? Yeah. They are gonna show people exactly what they are trying their hardest to hide from people. Number one,
he's
the truth about the medicine.
Yeah.
Number two, a doctor who is doing the right thing. Yeah. Number three,
Orthodox Jew.
An Orthodox Jew.
A very visible Orthodox Jew.
Yeah. Who talks about God?
Yeah, he's not just some Orthodox Jew that kind of tries to be an American with a kippah on top. It just so happens that he has a kippah, but he isn't really talking about his beliefs.
Right.
He's talking about his beliefs all the time.
Right. He doesn't separate what's going on right now from the process of what's happening with Mashiach.
He's talking about how like these people are doing the anti-God agenda.
Yeah.
And that they're Tower of Babel.
Right. So he is truly he's what they want people to not know about. Because people get curious. They're like, what's this guy with the beard? And then it's just, it's all dominoes start falling from there.
And then people are just gonna be like, God? This guy comes in the name of God? Let's listen to him. It'll be.
Well, we got to be careful about that statement. Coming in the name of God.
No, meaning he's. You know what I mean? No, I'm talking about that's how Goyim. No, that's how non-Jews would translate in their heads what this guy's about. That's.
You have a religious guy who's talking about God.
Yeah, for sure.
And the fact that it's also layered.
Yeah.
With the actual person who first treated COVID successfully and has been treating COVID successfully, completely successfully, with no change in effectiveness whatsoever since March of 2020. That, coupled with him being a religious Jew with a beard talking about God, that just shatters them.
I know. Dude, some woman wrote to my mother. She's like a Russian Jewish woman. She's a biology teacher somewhere in a university, and she goes, what new medicines does this guy have? He's using some old medicine. And I'm like, if it works, why? Because she's talking about the new Schmeiser, the pill. And I'm like, why do you need something new for it to be effective? If the damn thing it ain't broken, don't fix the damn thing. What's wrong with you?
She's thinking that if we would have had something that worked, we would have already found something.
Yeah.
And, so it has to be something new.
She doesn't understand that these people are trying to murder, and we do have something that works, and they're hiding what works. It's just, I don't know. I just don't know. My mother wrote back to her, you realize that this drug was used, that it's like it cured, my grandmother had malaria when she was 3 years old in Kiev, and they used actually this Dafka thing at that time. You're talking about in the, whenever it was, in the 30s. So, like, it's crazy, man. I don't know. So, how do we get again, back to the original question. How do we get people into global underground? How do we turn global underground?
Well, I think that personally, me and you, what we could do is try to get these episodes out to really see if we can get more people, I guess, to hear them. Okay, that's what we can do on a personal level. And then in our private lives and on our own, we can continue to, just basically do what we're doing. Basically, everybody has their own little jurisdiction. God gave every person
Yeah.
their own little sphere of influence,
Yeah.
where you're like your influence governs your environment.
Yeah.
Everybody has that. Okay,
Yeah.
so whatever that is, however that sphere of influence is, we have to max it out.
Yeah.
It could be just two people. If that's God's will, let it, so be it. But so let's get it out to those two people. Okay, so, but I think maybe we have to try to, do it. I don't think enough people know.
Can
think
I
a lot
say
of people would
something?
enjoy these
You may
episodes.
not like what I'm about to say, but I'm gonna say my feelings. I think that what you and I are doing with these episodes is
I'm bracing myself.
all it's gonna end up being when it's all said and done, because, like you said, there's no way to know how many people watch us. Let's say on YouTube. Let's just say, for argument's sake, it's 200 people an episode. Let's just say, I'm just gonna throw out a number. And when all is said and done, when this Ponzi scheme collapses and when there's going to be tribunals, all our stuff is just going to be rendered like what is it called? It's like a live blog. It's like like a play-by-play of the stuff, but not only a play-by-play, but really an in-depth analysis of, psychological, spiritual, of the people who were involved in this. So that's
It's not
that.
just that.
No,
because
just
we also
just hear me out. That's that part of it. But apart from that, again, dude, I think your brother, and you are going to be called as witnesses, not like as in indicted witnesses, but as witnesses, as in expert witnesses.
thank you for
Yes.
emphasizing that little nuance. I
Yes.
appreciate that.
Yes. And that's what I think ultimately. I'm probably going to be just some peripheral, glorified grunt in that respect. Probably at best, if I'm lucky. So that's basically
Yeah, you could see me booting you in the head with my boot, like get
Yes.
back there, you.
Yeah, get back there, you rogue. No, you would just yell out. You would just yell out. If they ask you, you're like on the stand, you're sitting on the witness stand, and they ask you, can you show us this example of whatever you're talking about, and you just yell out, "Rogue, can you please bring me that folder? Rogue, where's that folder?" And I would just pop up, where the people sit in the courtroom, like the people, like the spectators. I would just pop up. What? Oh yes. Yes, sir. Rogue, where's my document?
Boy.
Boy. I'm telling you that I would just be like
I'll sit there like a Roman senator.
I would be, yeah, whatever. Some kind of glorified residue.
Remember Beer Fest? Do you have a good picture of that movie?
Yes.
Remember during the
Das Boot.
Beer Fest games?
Yeah.
The German guys, the German team.
Yeah.
They had these giant guys, right?
Yeah.
And then they were drinking beer, and this kind of little skinny, kind of happy guy came running over and gave him something.
Yeah.
And they tapped him on the head, and he's like, "Yee!"
Yeah.
He ran away.
That'd be like me. Yeah, that'd be like me. Like there's a giant Nuremberg 2.0, and the whole world's watching, and you're there, your brother's there, and you're there just kind of doing, whatever.
I don't know what gives you this idea. Do you understand that I don't like when people look at me?
It's not going to matter. You're going to be subpoenaed. You are going to be in contempt of court if you don't show up. You understand, mister?
I'll show up.
You're screwed. You're not going to wear a mask. No masks.
Okay? I should not be. I have a face for radio. I don't belong in the
If
public.
you have a face for radio, then your brother has a face for like satellite radio, as a satellite in space. Okay? No
I
insult to
disagree.
you.
I think he's handsome and charismatic. I do. I'm not trying to be funny.
Well, Schwab doesn't think so.
Schwab is there's a looker.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Sexy. Woo.
Schwab is what every transgender wishes they could be. They could look
Schwab is like he could be like a middle-aged lesbian. That's what happens to middle-aged lesbians. They look like, you never know. It's like this. It's this kind of.
You never know if she's the butch or the what's it called? The lip sync. No offense to any lesbians listening to this.
I hope no. I'm not trying to cause offense to lesbians listening, but any lesbians listening are laughing right now
Of
because
course.
they know
Because
they know that I'm
because
telling the truth.
because only people listen actual shtick recognition listen to the show. People, yeah. Ay, ay.
I have met lesbians with shtick recognition.
Yeah.
I know it exists.
So have I. I met gay guys with this shtick recognition.
No, I mean that goes without saying. I mean that.
Yeah.
I mean maybe not now, but like
Can I ask you a very practical question? Okay, I was just talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and I told him that if we're saying that this is a Ponzi scheme, right? This whole thing is a Ponzi scheme. It's a medical Ponzi scheme, right? So the last big Ponzi scheme that was exposed, the timeline of how long it took to expose it. The guy, his name is Marco Poulos. He came to the authorities in the year 2000. He came a few times, 2000, 2002, 2005. So it took basically 8 years, it wasn't the fact of that it took 8 years. It was the fact of something happened, which was called an economic collapse, which catalyzed the exposure of this thing. If it wasn't for that, the SEC would have just kept ignoring this, right? So that took about 8 years. How many years do you think it's going to take before this particular Ponzi scheme? Because it seems like everything's moving accelerated anyway. So
I think this is going to be faster.
It's faster
for a number of reasons, primarily spiritually. Yeah. Also, not everybody had money invested in Madoff.
Yeah, for sure not.
This one is literally everybody's life is on the line.
What do you think is going to be the catalyst for this whole thing? For this whole thing to be meaning it'll be exposed on its own. It'll be some kind of like,
you know what it's like. It's like this. I see a pattern developing.
Yeah.
The pattern is like every time, like when you read Tanakh, it's like God tolerates like idols, until they, it always gets to the point where, all right, now we're gonna sacrifice kids. Okay.
Yeah.
Every time, that's when God steps in and it's like, all right, they're sacrificing kids.
Yeah.
All right, let the Philistines, let the Philistines come in and invade them, or then Samson would come and rescue them for some period of time. That'd be good for like a number of decades, and then back to the sacrifice.
So basically, the fact that only 12% of Israeli children, I'm speaking about Israeli children, have been schmaxed. You're saying it hasn't gotten to that point yet where God has to like. Well,
okay. So that's not. It's kind of in the ballpark, but actually no, not really. So here's what it is. I think that what God is looking for, like this is the last episode.
For sure.
Of the Bible.
For sure.
We're in the Bible right now. This is the last episode.
This is the last portion, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, God wants to see that it's probably it's probably not too much to ask for. They're like, look, maybe God's thinking like this. Maybe I'll come and save you, but let me just see you not sacrifice your kids.
Yeah, let's see what you're not going to do. Let's see what you can do by way of not doing.
Can you at least just not sacrifice your kids?
Yeah. Do you know the percent of kids that have been schmaxed in America? I don't know that number. Off the top of my head.
I don't know if there's a way to get any like real figures.
No, in Israel they even report, the mainstream media in Israel reported that this is a massive failure, this kids program, 5 to 11-year-old kids. The question is why Dafka 5 to 11? Why not kids 4 or 3? Not that I want, but it's interesting. I'm thinking about that. What is it about that 5 to 11?
Because
5 to 11
I'll
range.
I'll tell you why. Because that's when kids go to school.
Yeah.
5.
Not only that, they're making it like a thing of like if the kid is in school, that's already implied informed consent. Yeah, which is absurd. Which is like we won't even stand in any court of law. It's like, where do you get this law? Where the hell are you pulling? What orifice are they pulling this out of?
So see what they're doing? They don't care about the rule of law anymore, and they don't care to lie anymore. You know why? They feel that the influence of their lies is greater than that of reality. So even if there are real courts, and even if some of the courts are still operating, as they're supposed to, the information and the feeling that they're giving people is that they're not. Like in the United States, it doesn't feel like there's any court system because the president of the United States was not even given his day in court.
For sure. Even the people even the people who you would thought, were part of his party, they were paid off by Shmoros, and that was it. There was no.
Dude, Shmoros,
That's why every
Shmoros
time
is like
every time these woke
he's
told
a
me.
he's a low level dude on the totem
No,
pole.
I know.
People-
I'm just saying. Every time these wokes were like, "Oh, it wasn't even hurt. It was thrown out of every court." I'm like, and I would tell them, I'm like, out of your Republican courts, it was thrown out. I'm like, yeah, but who do you? They're paid. You can't tell that they're paid. It's so obvious. It's like, it's whatever.
So it's important, like, you know, the only thing that we should, that here, you know, here's something interesting. So in our generation,
Mm-hmm.
it really seems that there's something different, which is in previous generations, they had to get up and do something.
Yeah.
In our generation, it's not even required of us.
Do nothing.
All that's it's what not to do.
Yeah, non-compliance. That's it.
That means, yeah, do not go out and start violently, you know, rampaging
Yeah.
and rioting.
Yeah. Don't riot.
That just
don't
gives them an
don't.
excuse to kill you.
Yeah. Don't go to the pharma factory. Don't do any of that stuff. Just don't take what
Just
they're giving
don't
you.
comply.
Yeah. And
Just
the whole
don't-
and the whole
Don't
thing
sacrifice
collapses.
your kids and don't comply.
And
That's
the whole
it.
thing collapses. Yeah.
It's only you guys are propping it up
Yeah.
by complying. The moment you stop complying, they're not going to come with
Yeah.
they're not going to be with SWAT teams. There's not enough SWAT teams to
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah. Especially since half of America is like to the teeth. You know, the guy, what's his name, today just tweeted out. What's his name? Tim Pool. You know Tim Pool with the podcast. He just tweeted out, "Buy guns." 2 words. He sees what's going on. He goes, "Buy guns."
He's the guy who's like shows up on Rogan a lot.
He used to. He has his own show, Tim Pool. He was the guy that was like one of the originators of the Occupy Wall Street thing, actually. So he's like a person who's like a genuine, you know, like he sticks to his guns. Like if he believes that the system is, you know, this is what the stupidest, you know, the guys who founded the whole idea of that were, you know, Rage Against the Machine, that group.
Yeah,
And these guys are the ones, oh, take the strikes, take the freaking losers. They
You know,
they know about the military-industrial complex. They know about all this economic forum crap.
I regret, like I used to love it, you know, that song by Rage Against the Machine. What am I talking
The
about?
Nina, the Pinta, the
No. I was like Bulls on Parade.
Bulls on Parade,
You know,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
it was like, you know, there's so much rageful angst, right?
Yeah.
So like awesome. But then when you find out like where it comes from, you feel like cheated, you feel fooled, you feel
Yeah.
silly.
Yeah.
You know?
It's
I
just-
feel like that about so many of the things that I grew up on. By the way, going back to the underground thing for a second.
yeah.
So the underground does not apply at all to anything from the 80s.
I know.
Above ground in the 80s was awesome too.
Yeah,
You know
for
what I mean?
sure,
I'm just
for
like,
sure. Because like you said, there was that whole light, you know, Mashiach, whatever. What is it called?
We never did the Billy Idol Cradle of Love analysis. That I think the people are
Well,
demanding that.
let's do this in the next. 'Cause
I know,
I have
I
to.
know,
I
I'm
actually have to
saying.
run in like 30 minutes. So if you want to do this in the next 30 minutes, we can. I don't know if it's relevant
Okay,
to what
we
we're
can-
talking about.
It is because
Okay.
not. It's kind of relevant because in a general way.
Okay.
So you have for anybody familiar with the video starts off like this. There's a olive-skinned newcomer. he's sitting in his in his tasteful London apartment,
Uh-huh.
right? He's typing away on the computer. He's I don't know what this is like 1989, so I guess he's creating Google or whatever. I don't know. Okay,
Yeah.
so I ripped that off one of the comments on YouTube. I believe. So basically, and then he gets a knock on the door, and as he's walking to the door, you see his apartment. It's all very, there's lots of art and it's very modern and all this kind of stuff. And he's a sophisticated guy, Jewy look, one of the most Jewy looking guys you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
Okay, so they should call Here's another comment. One guy said they should call the video "Spin the Dreidel of Love." So, yeah.
That one probably got like a ton of likes, right? That comment.
Oh no, I couldn't find it anymore.
Oh,
I
man.
think they
They removed it because they have no
stick.
stick recognition.
Yeah,
Idiots.
it's too funny.
The
So,
algo couldn't stand it. Anyway.
So he gets a knock on the door, and there's a very young girl looking. So in reality, she was like 19 or 20. She looked like 17, 18. Okay, so let's just say she's 18. Okay, because that's actually younger than she was in reality. So let's just say, okay. So she's like, my mom lives down the hall. I forgot her name. My name is something. My mom lives down the hall, and I wanted to play this tape. Can I come in and play it? And he's kind of a little weirded out. He's like, okay, I guess. He goes, I don't want to get in trouble with the neighbor lady. I didn't let her daughter play a cassette or something like that, right? So he's right away. He's like very, very nervous because instantaneous jail bait.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So then she starts playing he's like, can I help you with that? She's like, no, I don't need your help. So she starts playing the music, and it's Billy Idol. That's when the music starts for the music video. Billy Idol, Cradle of Love, right? It's an awesome song, by the way, but the lyrics a little bit like, So basically, so she starts dancing, right? And she's like dancing very she's basically like kind of like stripper style stuff. And he's like, what the hell's going on? He's like freaking out. He's like, oh my god. And she's like, she starts making a mess out of his apartment. She goes to get the wine, and she starts pouring wine. She's like drinking. He's like, oh my god, what's going on? What happened? He's like freaking out, imagining himself in jail, or or he was just concerned with the material objects in his apartment. Right. Because everything is like super expensive and like modern art and all that kind of stuff. So he's like, and then she was like dancing and holding like a wine glass, and he was coming up to her to see if he can like help her or something like that. And she turns around, and then the wine spills on her shirt. He's like, oh my god. He puts his hands to his mouth like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Super beta, the most beta guy ever. Okay? So then she just takes off the shirt, right? And now she's just in her bra, and she's dancing, and he's like in the sink trying to like wash her shirt to get the stain out of the shirt, because now there's wine on a shirt of a minor, possibly, right?
Oh my god.
Okay, or he's just like freaking out, and then she starts going crazy as the song gets more intense, and then she ends up in the bedroom, and he's like watching her. He's like, he doesn't know what she's gonna do, so she's jumping on his bed, and all of a sudden she starts doing this crazy like stripper routine, and the music gets very kind of like romantic. It takes like a romantic, like how rock songs have a bridge where it's like it just changes. Like the tempo changes and like the energy kind of changes for a little bit, and then it goes back to its regular pattern. So it has like this like romantic type of moment, where it actually is. It sounds actually kind of beautiful. Yeah. And and then all of a sudden she's presented as this I don't know, this like divine creature. Yeah. Right. And she's an attractive girl, but the message that they're sending with the sound, with the music, and the lighting. Yeah. It looks like an Adrian Lyne fantasy.
It's kind of like in the movie American Beauty, where he's like he sees her, the cheerleader girl, and he's like fantasizing her being in like one way, and then he comes back to reality, and she's just like this girl like plain Jane girl dancing.
I see why you're going there. I see it, but actually, when you watch the video, you'll see it's not like.
Okay, fine.
In this case, it's more like the director Adrian Lynn.
What did he?
Wild Orchids.
That whole stuff.
Weeks, all these all these passionate kind of like kind of. What are they like? Almost like.
It's like Skinamax it's like Skinamax, but not quite.
Like these are the great granddaddies of the Skinamax features, but these are mainstream. These are like in the movie theaters, the big stars. Right. Yeah. So, but and it was all done really, tastefully in this whole like 90s thing with lighting, shadows.
Like you're talking like 1992 kind of deal,
but so you could see that beginning in this video. Like this
Mickey,
video was like
it's like Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke played in one of those movies, basically.
Right, but obviously Mickey Rourke is not the main attraction.
Yeah.
But so they took raunchiness and they tried to make it look romantic and and divine. Yeah. They kind of tried to make it right. But the funny thing is, in reality, it is divine. Yeah. Just with mad clip on it. Yeah. You understand? Yeah. So it was almost like a moment of, when the music starts getting like kind of like has this like kind of like romantic feel. It's like a moment of like a slight revelation to some extent. It's like almost kind of like, oh yeah, look, there's something underneath the clipper. I don't know, but anyway, so then, and by the way, in this whole video, Billy Idol, I think he got into a car accident or a motorcycle accident, and he couldn't perform in the video, right? So, and because he couldn't walk, right? So he's like walking with crutches. So they had this idea that he's only going to be shown in the paintings in this guy's house.
Yeah.
And he's like going from painting to painting.
That's interesting.
And there's this, and this is like, and he's like, he's Asaph. Yeah. He's like really playing up Asaph, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then you have Jacob over there who's freaking out, the Jewy boy, the olive-skinned Jewy newcomer, right? And by the way, he has an English accent. He has an American accent, the Jewy guy.
Yeah.
And he's in London, so he's literally a newcomer.
Yeah. Huh.
Okay. So I just wanted to point that out. Anyway, so basically, as the song reaches its zenith, I don't want to say climax in this context, because it's going to get misunderstood. So I'm going to say zenith. Yeah. Okay. Yet I still said climax, didn't I? Yeah. Even if I'm whispering it, kind of. All right, anyway, so basically, the song is at its zenith, right? And then all of a sudden, he's like freaking out because she's destroying his artwork, and he's like, it's like he has these paintings that have these kind of like weird like porcelain dishes that are part of like the painting, part of the artwork, and then she does something, and then you see them fall to the ground and shatter, and he's like. He's like, oh my god! He's like crying like a woman. It's so feminine, his behavior, right? Okay, and then so finally he's like lying there. He's having a mental breakdown. He's like just trying to shield himself, almost in the fetal position. Fear of this girl. She's dominating him entirely, and then all of a sudden she starts doing that stripper what do you call it? Like she's like
movements,
walking like she's like walking like an animal. She's like she's on her hands and on her hands and knees, and she's like walking towards him. It's like animal
like
crawl.
A four-legged creature.
Like a four-legged creature, and and then he's like no. He's like in the corner, he's like shaking. He's like no, don't come near me, that kind of thing. Yeah. And then she grabs him and she starts kissing him, and he's totally sweaty and everything, and she's like kissing him with her eyes closed, and he's like freaking out, like right? And then all of a sudden you get a knock on the door, and the door opens. This big giant dude. He's like, "Is Devin here?" Oh yeah, her name's Devin because I remember what he said. He's like, "Is Devin here?" And he goes, "Yes." And then she goes, she kind of squeezes by him in the doorway, and she kind of like stops in front of him, pressed up against him. She goes, "Thank you so much." And then she goes out with her giant boyfriend, and then the guy, the last thing you hear is like 59 locks and chains closing on the door.
That's
crazy. Okay, so I'm not going to go into the analysis of this video. I just wanted to, I guess, set the stage for all the symbolism and what's actually going on here, and how it's related to everything wrong in our world, and some of the things that are right. What do you think?
Okay. So.
Okay. Should I start doing it now? Or
I mean, I just have to let you know I have to put a hard stop in 20.
I thought that I would stop there.
No, in 20 or we could stop. Yeah, we could stop. I just have to go in 20 minutes. But if we want to stop now.
Okay, 20 minutes. We can make some headway in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see if we can figure this out, because I've had moments of Ruach HaKodesh thinking about this video, right? And it doesn't stay with you. So we're going to have to tap into that again.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have this guy, this Jewy, this olive-skinned newcomer. Right? And, okay. So let's say he represents Yaakov. Okay. But Yaakov in the messed up form. Whenever Torah says, whenever Tanakh calls the Jewish people by the name of Yaakov, that means that there's something wrong. Whenever they're called Yisrael, that means they're acting better. Okay,
he's like Beta Yaakov.
He's like a Beta Yaakov, right? Okay,
or Beta Israel, not to be confused with the Ethiopian people. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
You like what I did? You like what I did?
No, he's definitely not a Beta Israel. This is Yaakov, the way Asaph sees Yaakov. Like a nerd sitting in the tent, in the tent.
Like a big pussy, basically.
He's like, go home, mama's boy, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
go back to college boy.
Yeah,
You know,
go
let
back
the
to
real men take over. And
go
that
over
kind of-
there to the Shem and Aver, those old men. Go talk to them.
Actually, if you just on a side note, Asaph greatly feared Shem and Aver, and that's why he wouldn't go anywhere near them.
Yeah.
He also greatly feared Lavan, just because Lavan was far superior in power and evil to Asaph.
Do you know
at that
who
point.
Shem and Aver were to Asaph? Remember? Okay, so imagine like Asaph is Debo from Friday, and Shem and Aver. You know who Shem and Aver were? Remember in Do the Right Thing, those old black men that would just sit and like talk about how these kids, whatever, they don't know what they're doing and this and that and the other. And how they can be. You never see Do the Right Thing?
I know, I've seen The Right Thing. That's not Shem and Aver.
But kids, think of any just like old black man who you think can't kick some ass, and in the end you see in the movie he just beats the crap out of the young buck.
Okay, so
that was
so
Shem and Aver.
You could look at it from that perspective, but so there is something to that. But remember we were talking about the Tower of Babel generation?
Yeah.
Remember what happened to them? The angels descended and did stuff with their minds. You know who the leader of that effort was?
Who?
Shem.
Yeah. No, I believe it.
Okay. So he represented, he was greatly feared.
Shem was like the Mr. Miyagi of, L'Chavdil.
Shem was like, he was like the, I don't know if everybody even knew his name. Only the highest ups knew his name, and he was greatly feared by the greatest of them.
Yeah.
And Avraham, for instance, right? Remember when at the end of the war, where it was a Parshad, right? One of the kings, he was leading that effort.
Yeah.
And that was actually Shem's descendant. So it was Avraham, right?
Yeah.
So Avraham was like, okay, now I'm going to go and talk to Shem. I think he was a little bit nervous because he had killed a lot of Shem's offspring, even though he himself was one. So he wasn't sure how he was going to react to that.
Yeah.
But Shem is a primary a servant of God.
Yeah,
right? It actually describes him as it describes him as the priest to God on high. That's the way it's described in the text. Anyway, very interesting persona. This character, this person.
Mm-hmm.
But so back to Yaakov in the video. Right? So he's there. He's insulated. He's in his tent. He's kind of like floating in his own little bubble world that he created for himself. Okay, it's like a cocoon or a safety. Safety. What do they call it? When they have microaggressions and people are triggered.
Safe space with pizza parties. Yeah.
Right. No gun zone. Right. Nobody can have a. Right. So one
it's
of
like
those.
You're telling it's like you're telling the psycho with a gun that there's no guns here. Nobody's gonna shoot you. Don't worry about it. Come in.
Yeah. Exactly. And so on a certain level, the girl who came is the psycho with the gun.
Yeah.
Because she saw like, I'm gonna have some. From the perspective of the video, we're trying to transcend the vessel and what it's actually communicating, right? So I guess the director looked at, he had this idea, what about this girl who loves to just go and terrorize, like men that she can dominate and makes her feel powerful and sexy, and even though she's a young girl and it's kind of silly.
Yeah.
Right? So she has this weird thing that she does. Okay, so he was a perfect candidate for that. So on that sense, she's also kind of an Asaph on a certain level. She's kind of like a little bit like a female Asaph.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, she's sort of like a female Billy Idol.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He was there in spirit, and she was like the vessel carrying his energy. Right. She was dancing to his music. Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, she came there, and she created chaos.
Yeah.
She brought the elements of tohu vavohu, and he is in a. If you notice, everything is super neat and clean. He's dressed. Everything is just right. It's like a catalog. If you go to somebody's apartment and be like, "Ooh, that's nice. Look at the IKEA catalog."
Yeah.
Right? Look, there's I forgot the name of stores. Thomasville, is that a thing?
No, whatever. Pottery Barn.
Allen?
Pottery Barn, a freaking.
Look, it's Ethan Allen. Look, it's Restoration Hardware.
Yeah.
So that's what it kind of had that vibe, right? He was a yuppie. A super clean yuppie.
Yeah.
Okay, sterilized everything, So basically, and she brought this chaos, and it's very interesting that chaos comes in the form, tohu comes in the form of a girl who's acting like crazy. So the symbolism behind it is the fallen feminine. And that's precisely what happened in the previous universes. It says that in chapter 36 of Genesis, it talks about the descendants of Esav, right? But hidden within the text, encoded within the text towards the end of that chapter, it talks about the 8 kings of Edom, right? And it says this one ruled and then he died. And then this guy took over and he ruled and he died.
Yeah.
And there's like this pattern. And then it ends with a king named Hadar, right? And Hadar, it says that he married Mehutabel. That was his wife, right? And it didn't say that he died. It just kind of left it there, okay? So the contrast is that the previous kings, it didn't say anything about their wives, meaning they didn't have a feminine, they didn't have a balanced feminine. So if you analyze the text, you can kind of see that. But the takeaway is that in the previous universes, the Sphirot that were annihilated, or the previous universes that were annihilated, the feminine aspect of those universes was what had fallen. So this whole idea of like Lilith and Adam's first wife, or his initial, it talks about Adam's initial idea of what a woman is, or what he wanted a woman to be before he was separated from Chava, because he had never seen her face to face. No. Right? And so he got that notion from the previous universes, because there was already an example. Like Adam was aware of the pre-Genesis universes. That was the last thing to take example from, in terms of when thinking about a woman. Yeah. Like God is saying, I'm going to introduce you to Eve. There's a feminine aspect. So Adam's thinking to himself, okay, so what's the feminine? What's that? Okay, so, there was feminine in the previous universe. What did that look like? Crazy, whatever the fallen feminine energy looks like at that time, which is probably represented by Lilith, also in some ways thought of as Adam's first wife. Yeah. Which is really the pre-version of Eve. But anyway, so here comes Tohu, right? So this idea of the fallen feminine, which comes from the world of Tohu, here comes Tohu smashing into this world of Tikkun, this like pure, this kind of sterile, neat, organized world where everything's balanced and calm, and just tearing things up, and he's freaking out, right? So what's the problem here? The problem is God wants the chaos and not the sterile environment. Yeah. He wants the energy that she's bringing, that crazy passion, that whole spirit, but just channeled into vessels which can contain it. Yeah. Right? So if he would have been suave, or if he would have been like an artful dodger, let's say. You ever heard this expression, artful dodger? Right? Yeah. Like this kind of like a Ferris Bueller type guy. Yeah. Right? He can kind of counter everything. He's not taking anything too seriously. Yep. Somebody's too intense. He kind of he's kind of like spiritual ninjutsu, jujitsu kind of thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yep. So Aikido, sort of. Yeah. So basically, instead he kind of just fell apart, right? He couldn't, his sterile environment couldn't handle it, right? So that's could be the intro to what's going on. And remember, as far as, when you're watching this video, there's people making funny comments, right? But if you're like on the spectrum, if you have Asperger's, right, you're going to, I made a comment a while ago that actually got like a lot of likes. It's funny. I wrote, "What is wrong with this young lady? It's disgusting. How was she raised? She comes over and she bothers this poor chap just trying to get some work done. She comes in there and she rips apart his thing. She destroys him. She makes him. Then she basically sexually assaults him, and then she leaves without cleaning up. Yeah. Ridiculous. You know, I'm just channeling Norm Macdonald. Yeah, yeah. So people love that comment, but almost all the other comments were like, "Oh man, I would do that. Oh, she's so sexy. Oh, I wish she would come over." The standard stupid stuff, right? Yeah. So basically, but in the end, you got to remember, you can't treat a beautiful. Look, the best thing that God created that exists within the creation is a beautiful woman. That is a representation of the Shekhinah. Yeah. Okay? The Shekhinah is God, there's a reason why
we
we
see
like
we see
women
how it's
so much.
we see how it's taken over the consciousness of the world via basically this, app called Instagram, not only Instagram, TikTok. And it's just like that's all you see. Not all, but that's like 90% of what you see. And the funny part is, again, like, there's such a movement of feminism and this and that and the other, and like, don't objectify women and blah blah blah. They're objectifying themselves quite nicely.
Yeah, no, because of the power in it. They understand
It's insane.
the influence that they have.
Even the
Right.
ones that say don't objectify us, they go and they, like, their whole Instagram feed is, their page is litany of their self-objectifications.
Right, that's just lip service,
It's
that's just
insane.
basically that's just saying we don't want you to objectify
Yeah.
us. We want the
power. It's all about power.
Politically approved, like
Yeah.
used to be white guys aren't allowed to objectify us. Let black guys. Now even
Yeah.
black guys can't.
Yeah.
Black guys are white guys now, basically.
Exactly.
Sorry, black guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, black guys. You're in there with us now.
Yep.
Anyway, so you made it too big. You made too much money. You got
Yeah.
too much influence, and now you're white. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. So, okay, you can't have it both ways.
No,
motherfuckers,
only the real
okay?
ends can objectify it. Just like you said with the Muslim guys, with the if they had an ISIS guy coming to the lady, the march, they would have no problem. They would have
objectify us.
Yeah, they would have no problem with him. He doesn't have anything. Well, the idea is that he
They have
doesn't
no
have anything in his bank account, but he does. He has a lot of money in his bank account, actually.
They wouldn't have any problem because he doesn't have any problem.
Exactly.
Because he doesn't give a f what they think.
No problem,
and
no
obviously
problem.
they respond to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So basically, right. So
There's
you
no
have-
shame. There's
so-
no shame whatsoever. Anyway.
Right. So basically, the end. So what's going on? So just we can kind of maybe tap it off here,
Yeah,
right? With the video and
Yep.
come back to it if you're interested.
Yeah,
'cause
we
there's
can.
a lot more.
Yeah.
So basically, what happened? What was she represents? And there's that. Remember, there was that moment that seemed kind of beautiful, meaning the music, right? The music
Mhm.
became kind of etheric,
Yeah.
ethereal,
Yeah.
right? Ethereal and kind of divine.
Yeah.
And it was like a beautiful guitar riff, right?
Mhm.
And she's, her chaos ceased for a moment,
Yeah.
and she's doing like these kind of
Yeah.
these like Tai Chi type flowy movements or
Yeah.
whatever, know? Okay, so so basically, the stripper went away for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, and he was just kind of like watching, right? And you can't tell whether he's horrified that she's messing up his sheets, or he was just mesmerized for a moment,
Yeah.
And it's kind and also when you're watching the video, you're like you kind of don't know how to feel about it. You're like she looks really young, and he
He's
looks like
basically the ultimate yeshiva guy. He's the ultimate guy who's been in stuck in Asia Torah for 2 years, and then suddenly a girl just walks in. That's the image I'm getting.
No, but not just any girl, just like the
Yeah, like a girl
most
from Tel
chaotic
Aviv
one
who doesn't care about sniut or anything.
You can look at it that way. So
Yeah.
so basically, she just completely destroys his whole thing. So
Yeah.
so he's watching, and I think perhaps in that moment, he perhaps in his panic stops for a moment, and he could just realize that there's something truly beautiful. That's now, of course, it's jailbait. Of course, you're going to go to jail. Of course,
Yeah.
you're not supposed to do anything
Yeah.
inappropriate.
Yeah.
But just step away from the corporeal aspects for a moment and just look at it from an energetic standpoint, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful girl, right?
Yeah.
Technically adult, hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, and she's bringing this energy into your house, and so what are you going to do? Are you going to engage it? How are you going to engage it? So this guy, he did not. I don't think that God approves of the way he handled it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's understandable why he, but that's not ultimately. That's what we're supposed to do is harness that, not shy away from it and run away from it screaming.
Yeah.
Because remember, because in the end, it's like, what are you, a fag? You run away from a beautiful girl.
Huh.
I mean, just to kind of cap it off. You know what I mean? In a very kind of coarse way.
Yes.
The point is
In a very South Park from 2002 kind of way, not South Park today.
Right. It's like you caught it's like a unicorn,
Mhm.
like kind of just decided to come into your field, but it's
Yep.
acting all wild. So what are you
Yes.
going to do? Shrink away, or are you going to try to engage it in a careful way?
Verstehe.
That kind of thing. Okay, so so ultimately the video represents what's happening with us, and what's supposed to happen is kind of like, believe it or not, more like Billy Idol,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like if he was there, he's not an animal. You know what I mean? He's like a romantic dude. You know, he
Yeah, for
loves
sure.
Elvis.
For sure.
You know, he was hugely influenced by Elvis. He even
Yeah.
does like the mannerisms, and he
Yeah.
tries to copy him in his singing.
Yeah, it's like a
And
blonde, cracked out Elvis.
Yeah, he's like, every song is about him and some kind of like deep love
Yeah.
of some woman or something
Yeah.
like that. It's saying he's not like slap the bitch in the ass and
Yeah.
on my boat.
No,
that's
no,
not
it's not like that. It's not like that.
that's not him.
No.
You know, he's like regardless of how he looks and the faces he makes, he's like
Yeah.
a romantic.
Yeah.
So you see.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a lot there. I just thought you know what this whole thing was about, because we started these recordings, and it's about elevating the vessels
Yeah,
of tohu that we grew up inside of.
for sure.
We'll leave it there if you want.
Yeah. All right, man. So it's been real. I gotta go to. I have to go to my friend's kid's first haircut. Speaking of elevating tohu, you're taking the tohu that grows out of their head. It looks like tohu, and you're making it something organized. That looks organized. That's a whole different. And then there's klipot there. It's interesting. Interesting ritual.
sir.
Huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's happening at the Ohel, which is a whole other level of that.
Is that commonplace? Is that like a thing?
What do the Upsharn at the Ohel? Yeah, of course, they do. They've done that. She was originally gonna do it at the, and I mentioned this to you, the whole thing of at the Meron at Shem Bayachai. But
Yeah.
first of all, she can't get into Israel. Second of all, I mean, if she did, I told you they closed the thing, access to the public. And now we are in a different realm.
The eighth Chaim
Chaim, yeah.
the-
The Erev Rav is
the tree
trying
of
to
life
just stomp
is-
it out.
is Kabbalah.
Yep.
The true Kabbalist, the true transmission that we receive, Kabbalah, that is what the tree of life is. It's not the symbolic
Yeah, for
thing.
sure.
It's literally, that's what it is. Eating from it means to learn
Yeah.
Chachmas HaEmes.
And so now, we'll see what happens, in the words of Rabbi Kessin. Now we'll see
By
what
the way, there's supposed to be a fantastic shear coming up. He says it's going to knock our socks
It
off.
is not going to knock, yeah, and I think that's why Hashem, or not Hashem actually, that's the Yetzer Hara tried to fight it by giving Rabbi Kessin, he should be well, a horrible cough in the first 20 minutes of when he attempted it. And some weird virus is going around Lakewood. It's not COVID and it's not flu, it's some weird, we call it, I hate to joke about it, but it's like Lakewood variant. But, Refuah Shlema, and we look forward to hearing Rabbi Kessin's.
Amen.
Yeah, amen. All right, sir. I'm off. It's been real,
Hi, brother.
and we'll talk.
Peace.
All right, later.